My next guest is a very talented artist who's merged the psychedelic sounds of the past with the indie and pop sounds of today to create her very own sound. Her album, Blotter Baby, is a great demonstration of that. I'm so excited to have MAZIE join us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. How are you?
I'm wonderful. We're here in SF. I've never played SF, so I'm really excited. Yeah, how are you?
I'm great.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to talk to you because I'm a fan of your music. I love this vibe that you have going on here.
Very casual for sound check. I apologize. But
Clearly, you're not from the Bay Area because of how little clothing you're wearing right now.
Well, it was 80 degrees in Sacramento this morning where we woke up, and then we opened the doors here, and I was like, oh my God. But yeah.
That's Bay Area weather. It's microclimates. It has
I love it.
80 degrees in the San Jose area and Oakland, and then you come here and it's like winter.
It's beautiful.
But you're somewhat used to it, right? Baltimore's very
Yes,
similar?
Definitely. I've really tried to forget it though, living in Southern California. I'm like, I will never go back to winter, that's for sure.
You're one of those East Coasters that
Yes.
is now a baby when it comes to 60 degrees, right?
100%. My family gets so mad. They're like, what happened?
How do you like living in LA?
I love it. I moved out with so many friends from Baltimore. Like, I think we have like a group of like 10 to 15 people that I was just growing up with, making music with, and we all just did a big migration at once. So love it.
So you're the leader of the cult.
I actually am not the leader. My friend Mikey was the leader, and then my producer, and then and my guitarist, and then we all just followed suit.
Wow.
Yes.
Was this a California dream?
In so many ways, yes.
Yeah.
I think it was just, in 2019, right before the pandemic happened, my producer was getting some buzz and was like, I'm doing it, I'm going to LA. And I was like, I'm going. It's starting, it's happening, let's go.
Yeah.
So we did.
Well, you were in Philadelphia for university and things, so you had a taste of big city life.
Yes, absolutely.
Not that Baltimore's small.
Right, but Philly does feel bigger than Baltimore, absolutely.
How's the music scene compare between Baltimore and Philadelphia? Because, I know Johnny, who was originally from the West Coast, went out to Philadelphia, and he was raving about the music scene out there.
The Philly music scene is one of the most special ththings I've ever encountered. The first shows I ever played were in the Philly DIY scene, and which is hilarious thinking back. Like, I was playing full pop records at that time. Like, I'm grateful that they let me play in those basements. But it is like one of the most vibrant music scenes that is still present in the U.S. right now. It's crazy.
Were you playing a lot of underground parties? Kind of like a secret party where you have to know people.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like packed. Like, everyone was just ready to mosh, and everyone's like pouring drinks on the PA. Like, just so fun. Loved it.
Did you discover your voice during those parties, or was it more kind of after performing and correcting yourself in your bedroom? And
it was all of the above. I think, my producer and I, while I was a freshman in college, made this EP that shall not be named because hopefully it's just been deleted from every platform everywhere. And after that, we were sort of like, that wasn't it. That didn't feel great. But it started this, MAZIE evolution. And I just started experimenting with psychedelics in Philly. So I think that, MAZIEness really started to develop there. Absolutely.
I can totally see these parties being the instigator for the psychedelia appreciation.
Yes.
You referenced the Beatles as an influence, especially, Sgt. Pepper's album as well is kind of the gateway for that.
Yes.
Who introduced you to that?
I think it was my own exploration. It was sort of like, who doesn't know the Beatles growing up? Like, always peripheral, everyone knows a Beatles song. But it was like, in my experimentation, being like, oh, you know what? Didn't these guys do this while they were, weren't they inspired by this? And then just hitting play and being like, oh my God, my whole life has changed listening to this record.
Did you watch a lot of their videos, movies, and things to learn about them?
Weirdly, no.
Really?
No, I think I just, I had read a lot of lore. For some reason, I used to be very averse to music videos and stuff like that, but I did watch the Get Back documentary, and I cried the whole time. That was unreal.
That's really interesting to hear you say that, considering the music videos you make, the artwork on the album.
I know.
I mean, I can stare at Blotter Baby for hours.
It totally changed in the pandemic, honestly. My perspective on that, because it was sort of I think visual art has really changed in terms of its relationships with music. It's always been around. It's not revolutionary by any means. But I think just how we interface with social media and how we I don't know, connect artists to their music is very visual today. So I just was like, how do I communicate who I am when I can't play shows and we're just kind of stuck at home? And it just took on like this whole thing visually.
When you make music, are you seeing visuals? Do you see colors, like synesthesia that people talk about?
Definitely not. But it's funny because my producer Ely and I will argue in the studio being like, I mean, I would think that's like, this is a blue. And he's like, absolutely not. This is totally. And we pretend that it's like synesthetic or however you would say that. But no, not really.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because the sonics of your songs
Yes.
do paint so many different colors.
I totally agree.
And now, especially today's mediums, like you just touched on social media,
Yes.
songs of yours going viral,
I know.
and so many people learning about you.
Yes.
I'm sure it must have been overwhelming.
It was so crazy how fast everything moves once something starts getting a little viral. But I was really grateful that when that moment came around, we had just invested so much visually and invested so much in Dum Dum particularly that we had so much to like show everyone once it started to move and be like, look, we did this a year ago. Like we really felt passionately about the song. I'm glad you feel the same way now.
So we're talking about the song Dum Dum.
Yes.
And it's one of the few songs that, at least that I know of.
Yes.
I know there's others, but
Right.
that's really made an impression.
Yes.
Inspired by the events of the January 6th insurrection.
I know.
I would have expected Rage Against the Machine or those type of System of a Down to be angry and put out music inspired by that moment.
Yes.
And here you are mocking it, and boom.
Insane. And it's funny because a lot of people don't know that context, and I love that they don't know that context, and it can kind of just, be a thing that they stumble across. But yeah, in that moment, we were literally watching the insurrection happen on TV, and we were just like, we need to make fun of this. Not make fun of the insurrection, very serious, but just sort of the state of what everything is.
Yeah.
Because it's very much like a, if you can't laugh, you'll cry type energy.
Is that your type of vibe where when things are going wrong, you make jokes and
Absolutely.
go to humor?
I think I have just like a very healthy personal optimism. I'm the most pessimistic, nihilistic person you'll meet, like politically and philosophically, but within my own life, like very happy, very euphoric, I would say.
Where do you think that comes from? Because, and I'll let you answer in a
Yeah,
moment,
oh, yeah.
because I understand you went to Catholic school.
Yes.
You felt very constrained.
For sure.
And you kind of rebelled by coloring your hair,
Yes.
not participating in things.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
I just have always been really annoying and angsty. I've just always wanted to like pop out a little bit and feel individual, which, individualism is problematic in its own right, but always wanting to be, because, I think in Catholicism and like organized religion, there's a lot of conformity there. And growing up in like a very conservative town and family, like conformity is like a big theme. And I think it was just like my own little protest there.
How many kids are in your family?
So I have 2 biological siblings and 4 step siblings, but I just refer to them all as my siblings, so 6 total. So big family.
So in a way, this kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
Competing for attention.
And totally. Yeah. Sometimes a little too much on my end, but that's okay.
Why did you name this album Blotter Baby? Because there's so many different images that pop into mind.
Yes, I think it was just a pretty overt nod to LSD and that being on blotter paper and writing the record, I started having this thing called Blotter Baby. I just wrote it in my journal a million times and I was like, this feels interesting, the alliteration's there, it feels fun. And we never could write a song. Like, it was really impossible to write a song with Blotter Baby in it, and I was just sort of like, I'm gonna name the record this because that's kind of where it started for me and it's where it's gonna end.
There's so many great songs
Thank you.
on this album. I mean, Menace is one of my favorites.
Yay!
And I don't know, let's talk about that for a second, because that one kind of is, okay, I can see that's an amazing song. How fast was that to write? What was the catalyst?
Funny day in the studio for that one. As always, Ely starts with the beat and we're just sort of messing around. And I was like, can you just give me the mic? I was really hopped up on Red Bull. And I just was like, I'm a menace. And he was like, yep, that's the chorus. So then we just kept
Just
going.
like that.
It was, we make very quick decisions when it feels that way. And then weirdly took a long time to write the verses. Did so many variations. That always happens to us also. It's like we get the hook and then it takes like a year to finish the verses and we just are constantly swapping in and out. Had so many different like friends of ours come into the studio to help flesh it out. And then one day I had Johnny, and I had this artist Devin again, who hopefully you interview soon because she is unbelievable, or just like come across soon. Come to my house, and we finished the verses, and it was like the best day ever.
It's the total opposite of some of the more vibey
Yes.
psychedelia songs on the album.
Yes.
And that's what I like about this collection of material is that there's so much variety on there. You have the love song, or I don't know, the ballad, if you will, right? And then Are You Feeling It Now?
Yes.
Which is so vibey.
Thank you.
I mean, that one I couldn't stop playing.
Oh, thanks.
Tell me about that process.
I think with me and just like the MAZIE project in general, I think, and I am involving my producer in this conversation a lot because it's just the two of us, and it has been since I was 15 years old. And I think like we feel like MAZIE can kind of do anything. And the fun part is like finding where that MAZIE through line is through like those different moments. And it's very exciting to me to kind of like wear different hats, and because I don't want to necessarily be like pigeonholed in, which I think coming out of like the Rainbow cassette, it felt too similar. It felt too like this is a very consistent sound, and we had so much more to give and so much more to offer and play with, and that's what we wanted to do on the record.
And was that inspired by your moment on viral fame, so to speak, where?
Because we went viral basically by the time the album was finished.
Oh wow!
Yes, crazy.
You talked about how MAZIE is a project.
Yes.
What facet of your personality is MAZIE?
I think at this point with Blotter Baby, that feels so authentically me. It scares me sometimes because it feels very vulnerable. And I only want to continue to be more vulnerable, but MAZIE and I, we feel like this, and I think that's what I wanted so badly since I started the project when I was 15, was to come across and be like, this is me, and this music is me, and I feel like I've finally arrived there.
I ask because there's always that stage persona, the performing aspect of things where you can let free, and then as Grace.
Yes.
You're totally different, maybe a little more introverted.
Yeah, I think I definitely am not as manic in my regular life for the most part. Sometimes, it depends on the day that you catch me, but definitely when I'm like in the studio, I feel like I really embody that, like, I don't know, creative mania. I was trying to come up with a different word. And at home, I just like to play video games and hang out with my cat, and yeah, so there is that duality for sure.
Video games and cat.
Yes.
That is so typical.
I know. Yeah, it can't be too individual,
Yeah. Wow. I really am a fan of your music.
Thank you.
I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck with everything.
Thank you.
Look forward to the show.
Yay! I'm so excited for you to see it, and hopefully we cross paths again soon.
Indeed.
Yay!
It is MAZIE right here on B-Sides.
Thank you.